Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Jason. Welcome back to the 30 on 30. So we're now in the East, okay? I've done my first two teams already down below, and Miami Marlins and the Baltimore Orioles. And today we're going to go back to the nation's capital and talk about the Washington Nationals. For those of you who don't know what the 30 on 30 is, I'm doing one team every day for 30 days, going over each team's off-season, identifying some of their major needs, what I think they should do, and versus my predictions, what I think they'll actually do. It's kind of evolving too. It's ongoing because, with free agency and stuff like that, and other guys becoming available, qualifying offers, this and all those things are kind of there's a lot of moving parts to this, particularly in this kind of uncertain market this offseason and potentially next offseason too. We don't really know what it's going to be like. So I think the spending habits of certain teams are going to be not what they normally are, and so on and so forth. But there might be some teams that are a little bit in better shape, like the Mets, who are going to be more willing and able to spend. But that doesn't mean they're going to spend, stupidly. I think they're still going to spend intelligently for the most part and do moves that they really think that'll benefit their team, as I would imagine all the teams do. So, with that, some of the major needs. By the way, my regulars, you're the best. Thanks so much for your support. And hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And hit that notification next to it. It's really helpful to the growth of the channel. And hit the thumbs up to the videos as well. Again, it's really helpful to the growth of the channel. And let me know in the comments down below that you did, so I can personally thank you. I appreciate your support. Some of the major needs I identified on the Nationals: infield, particularly third base, outfield, and maybe adding another starting pitcher. Particularly with Strasburg got injured, but he's coming back. Well, we'll see how he comes back. It's not Tommy John, but he still had surgery, and so he's. And even though he's obviously an ace, he's the 1A over there with Scherzer. There's still a potential that he may not. It may take a while for him to come back, and he's only in the second year of a 7-year deal. So a big 7-year deal. So, and with that, I think this is Max Scherzer's final season with Washington as well of his contract. So. Or maybe there's 2 more, but either way, it's 1 or 2 seasons left. But he's getting up there in age as well, even though he's still relatively dominant. I think adding another pitcher to complement him and Strasburg and Patrick Corbin would be a good idea. But I think, and they do have a young dynamic lineup too, but adding one particular player, I think would be a good idea, and I'll go over that. But in terms of starting pitching, I had originally, I thought Marcus Stroman was going to be a good fit here, and I thought it would be a good idea, but he, accepted the qualifying offer from the Mets, so that takes him off the table. Trevor Bauer would be a crazy get, but I think he's a good fit for a lot of teams, and if the Nationals want to contend, he's the guy to clearly go after, but they do have the assets to make a trade too for somebody like a Joe Musgrove or somebody like that, or one of the Milwaukee Brewers' young starters. They have the assets to pull off a trade, but do I think they want to do that? I'm not sure they want to do that. But so, I had Stroman, or I had somebody like a Mike Minor, who's more of a complimentary pitcher on the back end, maybe a 4 or 5, since they have that heavy duty first 3. But Trevor Bauer would have been my first pick. So he's obviously over Marcus Stroman. That would have made just a ridiculous rotation. That's kind of like, Atlanta Braves-ish with Maddox and Glavine, Smoltz, and at that level, and Steve Avery, and then at that level. So with Dodgers and stuff like that. So starting pitching, maybe another reliever too, potentially 2. They're always kind of a rotating, a door of relievers over there, and do a little to a bunch of these other folks. So bringing in somebody like a Blake Trinan would be a really good thing for them. Give him some depth and protection in the bullpen. He's a power arm again, and this is one of the teams that has an uber duper billionaire owner, so he's willing to spend what it takes to win and to win again. They had an off year last year, but they've only won a World Series 2 years ago, so, and they have most of everybody with the exception of Anthony Rendon. So, which brings me to third base. Justin Turner would be nice, but I was pleasantly surprised to see the some Twitter rumors coming out or about them being interested in trading for Chris Bryant from the Chicago Cubs. That would be a huge trade for them. Can you imagine Bryant and Juan Soto and like Trey Turner and some of those guys in that lineup? That would be a sick good lineup. And again, they have the pieces to pull it off. They could probably give the Cubs a pitching prospect. They're really, really hurting in the pitching prospect side. So they can give him one or two pitching prospects and a couple other prospects. There's only 1 year left of Bryant's deal, so there would obviously be an extension probably discussed or already negotiated. But I think he'd be a perfect fit there in a trade. That would make them crazy good, crazy scary too, and I think they would bring him back to probably the favorites in the NL East, particularly if Strasburg is healthy again. So. That would be my third base, ideal scenario. Outfield, I personally think Michael Brantley. They got a lot of young dynamic players. I think Michael Brantley would be a good fit. He offers versatility, even though he's a little bit older. He's still a solid contact hitter. He'd complement the rest of the lineup well. He's solid defense, and he's not the flashy or sexy pick, but he gets things done, and that's another player like that to get things done. And in Washington would be a good thing. And again, there's other pieces of depth, and I've said in the last couple of videos, this is the time right now with an uncertain market that teams can probably pick up several players at a very reasonable contract. Instead of getting too expensive guys, they can get 4 or 5 or 6 reasonably priced guys to give them depth, because a lot of teams, even like my team, the Yankees, you have your starters, but then the depth behind it isn't always as reliable. So you get a solid, like a multiple position player who can back up infield and outfield. Like maybe get 2 of them, okay, or just get a couple extra relievers, get some depth in positions. A good backup catcher. This is the time to do it, in my opinion. So that's what I think the Nationals should do. Now, what do I predict they'll actually do? And I'm looking at my baseball book here. I think they're going to bring in somebody like. I see Chris Bryant going somewhere else before the Cubs, which is why I don't have him in my prediction. But that doesn't mean Nolan Arenado won't be an option. He's already on a ridiculous contract, but he's locked up, and he is the best, offensive and defensive third baseman in all of baseball combined. And again, so I wouldn't be surprised, but I also wouldn't be surprised. I'm thinking they're going to bring in somebody like a Mike Lamb. I don't even think they'll bring in a Justin Turner. I think Justin Turner is going to move over to the American League, which gives him an opportunity to kind of DH and play a little third base as well. And I think until the DH situation is ironed out in the National League, whether they're going to stick with it or abandon it, I think that alone, deciding to keep it, will resolve some player situations where players are kind of not being as productive and might need a change of scenery from a position to DH. So that's why I see him bringing in somebody like Jake Lamb. Not a sexy move, but an incremental move, and maybe a stopgap until either a top prospect comes along or a trade for a different player. So again, not a flashy move. I see their flashy move is bringing in somebody like Marcell Ozuna for the outfield. That's my flashy move for them. They could use another outfielder, and it's kind of an unconventional pick. He can go to a lot of places. He can go to the White Sox. He can go to a bunch of different places. But I could see, and sometimes they make these bold kind of out of the dark moves, and I think Marcell Ozuna will be the bold out of the dark move for the Nationals this year, and we'll put him in that lineup. So if they don't get Bryant, they get Ozuna, and they get outfield protection. And even if they bring in Lamb, they still get third base protection. So in a way that helps to balance their lineup out a little bit differently. So in terms of starting pitching, I see them bringing in, not like, I could see them trading for Lance Lynn, or just bringing in somebody like a couple of relievers, from Sergio Romo to someone else, maybe 2 relievers. I think that they'll give one of their prospects a chance. Or don't be surprised if they bring in somebody who you never thought, like John Lester. Okay, he's a free agent. He's older, but can you imagine sliding him in there as a number 4? Veteran presence, and he can help, mentor young players and stuff like that. And he'd be, and he wouldn't have the pressure of having to be the ace there either. So that would be, a good fit as well, in my opinion. But I predict them bringing in just a depth piece or a depth pitcher, somebody who can just throw innings, and even if it's 115 innings or something like that, to give that top 3 a little bit more stability, a little bit balance, a little bit protection behind them. And that's what I see the Nationals doing. Now, would I be surprised if they make a big trade or 2 big signings? No, not at all. They've got the resources, and they've got the the desire to come back from having a rough year last year, and I can see them investing one way or another. So that's my forecast for the Nationals. Let me know what you think. Please hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed this. It's really helpful to the channel's growth. And again, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit that notification so you don't miss the rest of the teams. And the next team I'm going to go over is the Boston Red Sox. So kind of in a potential comeback mode like the Nationals might be. They both had rough years last year due to injuries and losing players. So they were kind of in a similar boat. I could see them both trending upwards. So don't miss out on that video. And be safe. Look out for each other. And I'll see you over in Fenway.